Okay, you guys guessed it. We're talking about family. Family is just the best, the absolute best. And sometimes they're the worst. So we're going to talk about that, the best and the worst of your family. So it's very common, very, very, very common for family to be involved in your political campaign. And it makes sense. You need people to work for free, and the people that work for you for free are typically the people that love you the most, believe in you the most, support you the most, and those people tend to be your family. So we're going to talk about the best practices around using your family on your campaign, and how they can be assets, how they can be liabilities, and really how to best plug them in. So let's take a look here. So families' do's and don'ts. So we'll talk about how they can be an asset. So they can be boots on the ground for you, just flat out doing the laborious things that need to get done on the campaign. It's always referred to as the licking envelopes and stamps, that sort of work. They can help out with that. They can be inspiration for you. They can be moral support for you. And don't underestimate the value of this. You're going to be going through, or you're already going through, this extremely, extremely challenging endeavor in your life. And it's a journey, and things are going to come up that you're never going to expect. And you're going to need people to turn to, and someone that can be a support system for you. So your family can be that for you in your campaign. Third, they can also give you candid feedback like nobody else can. So make sure to instruct them to do so, and tell them that that is something that you expect from them. To not be shy about it. You're not going to get mad. You're not going to be sensitive about it. Tell them that you're relying on candid feedback from them. And they also can be used as props or imagery for campaign materials and campaign events. I know this sounds terrible and a bit crass, but whatever. You guys know me. You know where my heart is. I don't think family should be used just as imagery, so don't take it that way. But they can be. So just think when you're announcing your campaign and you're up there on a stage, you're behind the podium, you're talking, you want your family there by your side. You want your beautiful husband and your beautiful wife and your kids and your brother that's been your best friend your entire life. You want those people on stage with you because it feels good for you, but it also sets a good tone. When people see that, they're like, oh, this person really believes in strong families. I like strong families. I believe in strong families. So it just sets the right tone, and you can use them in that way. But family can also be a liability. So what is this? What do we mean here? So they can do inappropriate directing. If it's very common to have particularly a spouse of a candidate, think that they have say in the direction of the campaign, and then they just speak up about it. So they're telling the fundraising director that they shouldn't have the event at this place, or they're telling the volunteer coordinator that, 10 people is plenty enough for that event, and just generally getting involved where they don't need to be involved. It could be useful suggestions, it could be terrible suggestions, but the big takeaway is that they're not supposed to be doing it. Second, they could be poking at sore spots. So if you have a little bit of baggage with a family member, could be a spouse, parent, it could be like a long-lost cousin that popped up to help. But if they know something kind of gets underneath your skin, and it's always been something funny that gets underneath your skin, like maybe they kind of poke at you with it when you're at a family reunion or at Christmas time, and a few people have a few good laughs. You don't think it's that funny, but it doesn't piss you off bad enough to say anything about it. Well, we don't have room for that on your campaign. Period. We just don't. If something's going to get a little bit under your skin and it's not serving any useful purpose, then cut it out. We do not need it. We do not want it. And family, unfortunately, they're the ones that tend to poke at those sore spots. So keep them out of there. Third is that if a family member has a bad image or bad reputation, they could bring that into the campaign with you. If you think about, there was this really funny movie from the 90s called Black Sheep with Chris Farley and David Spade. And David Spade plays the campaign manager for this guy and that's running for governor. And the guy running for governor has this brother played by Chris Farley who is just a nightmare disaster. He does every wrong thing. Even though his heart's really, really, really in the right place, he just does all this stupid stuff. And of course, there's always photographers around and it ends up in the press. And yeah, so if you have that family member that you know is going to show up to be very, very, very eager to help, but they might also like smoke a joint behind the stage where you're about to have your press conference and like 3 photographers take a picture of it. Yeah, you might want to keep that family member a little more tightly managed or out of the campaign completely. So the big takeaway here, guys, big takeaway for family is that family takes direction from the campaign manager, never the candidate. And that family's suggestions go to the campaign manager, never the candidate. So that's the big way to avoid a lot of this messiness with family, is that the campaign manager is the conduit with family. So anytime the family member wants to like give input to the campaign or thinks that something should go one way or another, they tell the campaign manager. They don't talk to anybody else about it. Nobody. Same thing like when family members are being brought on to do something for the campaign, that direction comes from the campaign manager to the family member. So the way that this must be managed, though, is really incumbent on you. So the campaign manager is not going to feel particularly comfortable enforcing things to the family. So it's really going to fall on your shoulders. If you notice that your wife or your mom's really involved in the campaign, whoever, if you notice that they're getting a little heavy-handed with the fundraising operation or the look of the website and they're putting pressure on you, hey, you really need to talk to Jamie about the website. It's, this thing needs to be changed. This thing needs to be changed. If it happens once, you ignore it, whatever. But if they keep pestering you about it, then you got to lay down the law and say, if you have any suggestions for the campaign, you need to bring it to Jane. Jane is our campaign manager in this situation. So that it really has to be tightly managed by you. And then the campaign manager, if they're an experienced campaign manager, they'll be familiar with this dynamic, so they'll know how to manage it appropriately as those suggestions come in. If they have problems, then they'll probably come talk to you about it. And then, of course, enlist your help to lay down the law. You have to be that person that lays down the law on this. But if the campaign manager doesn't have significant experience running campaigns, which is fine because that just might be the size of your campaign and where you're at, then you're going to need to hold their hand through this process and step up your game a little bit in managing family members appropriately. So giving the campaign manager that air cover to be able to say yes and be able to say no when they see fit, not when your family members are instructing them to do so. So that is the big takeaway with family do's and don'ts. Family takes direction from the campaign manager, never the candidate, and family's suggestions go to the campaign manager, never the candidate, or to any other staff. Okay, that's the big takeaway. If you have any more questions, put them over here in the comments. And also, I would love to hear anybody's success stories or horror stories about working on political campaigns with their family members. If any of you have ever run for office before, or you currently are, and you're having problems with it, or maybe you've been the problematic family member, maybe? Tell me about it in the comments, or shoot me a Snapchat or something about it. I would love to see more. All right, guys, thanks. We'll see you back with lesson 4. Thanks.